Hello and welcome to another Daily Muppet. In today's video, we're going to talk about the revolution INEOS is now getting underway at United. What's happening with all of that, what might come next, and what it may mean for everyone. So let's get into it. Okay, so first and foremost, of course, the biggest news of the last few days is United, with INEOS leading, pushing ahead for a deal to bring in Dan Ashworth as the director of football, sporting director, whatever that role may be. And that, of course, is a huge win. To bring him in would be massive. For years, obviously, we've been calling out for the best people in the best positions. And this is why I've always supported INEOS for taking over United since this started a year and a half ago, practically. Every piece of information that I had, everything I heard from people around INEOS, around Sir Jim Ratcliffe, around the area, indicated to me that these were very serious people. They do not mess around. They do not rest on their laurels. And they're not here just to exist and have the prestige of a club. They want the best, and they want the best for everything. And that is the way that they approach it. And that is the way that they're going about operating now. Ashworth was always the one they wanted at the top end for this. There was some talk, I think, previously that he was telling people he wasn't going to leave. Obviously, that has changed. Either they've convinced him or that was just a little bit of playing it down until they got that Premier League ratification and all of that, where they could actually start making moves more officially. Either way, as I understand it, Dan Ashworth has told already Newcastle, I think this is all reported now, but at this point in time. But as of the start of the week, I think what it was that Dan Ashworth had already told Newcastle he wants to leave. He wants the job at United, and he intends to go should they agree a deal. Now, what does that mean? How does that happen? So obviously there's a little bit of complication here. One, they have to approach Newcastle and agree a compensation for him to get him out of the contract. Then secondly, there's apparently clauses in his contract that would force him to be on gardening leave or away for quite a bit of time. There's some back and forth a little bit as to what United will do there, but I don't see them waiting a year. The early indications for me were that they hoped to reach a deal wherein he could start sooner rather than waiting the full gardening leave period, which is a bit ridiculous in general and kind of pointless. I mean, I understand it, but it's like, what are the person not going to be talking to the people who are hiring him or anything like that? I kind of have my doubts. It's a little bit of a silly thing in general, but what I would say is the initial intention was they want him to start sooner. It's still up to Newcastle to play ball on that. It's a negotiation, so you see different sides of the reports. They're going to want more money, all of that. We'll see how that plays out. Maybe, I understand that at the same time, this is something, the money that would be spent is something that counts against profit and sustainability rules and all of that. So it's better if you don't have to spend 15 million to get the director sooner, that you need that money for players and things like that. But if it's within a reasonable cost, I think it'll get done to have him come sooner. Maybe they'll find a compromise where it's more reasonable and he doesn't start officially till, June or July. Again, I don't think it's that big of a deal in that respect. It's for the long term, all of this. But I do think it's a negotiation, and I think we will find out pretty quickly by next week, and by all accounts, because both sides will want this done cleanly, what it will entail. But I do believe they want to get him in well before a whole year of gardening leave, which is what is in the contract. So I think, I'm not saying they'll be able to get rid of all of it, but they do intend to get a deal done that will allow him to start much sooner than middle of next year. That would be kind of crazy. But in addition to that, they do want more people. They do want more people coming in, at least one more person. And obviously, David Ornstein reported this morning about Wilcox from Southampton, who previously worked for Manchester City. It's sort of unclear whether that's the head of recruitment role or not. We don't know if that is the case, although he's a director of football now, so perhaps it is. And of course, the point on this is that, you know, even if Ashworth is out for a while, if they have somebody else coming in who can start, that's the person who's going to be fielding calls with agents, who's going to be doing all the front end stuff. So someone who's on gardening leave still can share their advice, things like that, in the way that they will without being the direct point of contact for the club. But, you know, what it goes to show is, of course, that United are, you know, under INEOS leadership here, are making the changes. And, you know, this is what we were talking about beforehand, before this all happened. There's really nobody who's safe in their position at United. There's going to be a lot of people leaving. Not all of them are, you know, just the people at fault. But the point on INEOS is that when you look at what they're doing, when you look at how they approach this extends for all staff, all playing personnel, all management personnel, everybody. You don't have the role by default just because you're there. They're not looking at it and saying, you've got to mess up to get replaced now. You've got to mess up. It's not really a clean slate. It's, if you were starting from scratch, who are the best people for the job? And is the person in the job right now the best person for the job or not? They may be good. They may not be bad. They may not be disliked. They may not be anything wrong with them. But are they the best person for the job? And if the answer is no, then they're going to be replaced. And that is the way that INEOS approach things. So people will look at it and talk about how, you know, and think like, because it applies to the manager too. That's why I've said, you know, obviously they've looked at in the past other, you know, potential managers in case they decide to make a replacement, and that Ten Hag is sort of auditioning and all of that, because it's not he's the manager. It's he's the manager this year, and we don't want to make a change mid-season because that's really difficult with the manager and it doesn't make sense, and it's probably going to throw the balance of the team off. And, you know, we're winning games. We have a chance at Champions League. But is he the best guy for the job moving forward for what we want? I don't know. If he is, and they decide he is, then he will stay in the job. If he's not, they'll replace him. And that's every single staff at every single level. That is the view. Are they the best person for the job? Not, are they in the job now and then they'll keep it because they're in the job? It's a different perspective. They're not coming in and sacking. I keep trying to say it's not like sackings. We're practically building a business, building an organization, building this club from scratch. That's the view. And so that's the way that they're looking at it. Let's go position by position, top down. Who are the best people for the job? Do we have the best person, or is there someone better? There's areas where I think that they really like what has been done. For example, the Gary O'Driscoll. We've talked about some of the medical stuff he's doing. He's viewed as somebody who's best in class and has been given the remit to make the changes he wants to make for the same reason. Robin Sadler, the physio who's departing, he didn't do some major thing wrong. It's not like that. But the decision has been made that they want to go a different direction from Gary O'Driscoll because he wants what maybe he's just not considered the best for what he wants. You see, that's the remit from top to bottom, and that's how INEOS will view things. They have some good views of a lot of people in the data science that have been being brought in to credit Mert on some of the people at United. They've brought in some really good people in the data and analytics department to really flesh it out over the last few years, and it's growing and should be coming into a lot more effect, which is great. There are people who are viewed as, yeah, that's probably the best person, or I don't know, that we'd find better, that will remain. But there's a lot of people who aren't. And there's a lot of people who will move just simply for that reason. So it's a different view of things. So We don't know if Wilcox is the head of recruitment or not, or what the exact position that he'll have is. You know, he's done a lot of work with younger players, academy, things like that. So it's a little bit unclear what that would mean. What I will say, you know, on the recruitment front and on personnel is, I think it was in the end of January, I made a video myself and I said that it wouldn't be Paul Mitchell and that I hadn't heard a lot of good things on Julian Ward. And as far as my straight information goes, it's the same. As I understand it, the role that was being offered to or discussed with Paul Mitchell is not one he wanted, so he took himself out of the race. The role that's being discussed and offered is not necessarily one that Julian Ward wants, so he was also someone who removed himself from it. Now, I don't know if that role was Ashworth's job, because that job is not recruitment based, which maybe that's what Mitchell wanted, or if it's the reverse and it was this head of recruitment, which is not as big a job as the technical. It could be one or the other. I'm actually not positive. But what I know is they've been looking at, you know, multiple heads to this beast, and that Ward and Mitchell didn't feel that whatever was being on offer is the right fit for them. That was the indications. And so I think they're unlikely at this point in time from the information. Well, I know Mitchell's not happening, and Ward I think is unlikely. And I think The Athletic last night had an article that said that too. But that's what I had heard at the end of July, at the end of January. I keep saying July for some reason, but January. It feels like a summer with all the changes and movements and signings. So yeah, I think there's going to be more significant personnel changes after Wilcox as well. But we don't know yet if that's the head of recruitment position or if it's something else. It's slightly unclear, but I guess we are going to find out. He's going to be a key person anyway, so that's good. Obviously, there's connection there with Omar Barada. Just getting best in class. That's what's important. And I think you can see so far that there's an obvious direction towards people with experience in English football, which I wouldn't ignore. And I think that, you know, there were some early articles. I really like to see, if it's not head of recruitment for this guy, if someone like Dougie Friedman is still on the table. Because then you could really be assembling a team of people. And I understand that too many cooks in the kitchen type of idea, but United is a massive behemoth of a team and a club and has a lot to it. Ashworth, you know, is obviously the big thing they want to overhaul is recruitment, but you also have so many levels of recruitment: academy, first team, you know, everything that goes into it. So anyway, I think more major changes personnel-wise will still be coming moving forward. That being said, moving on to, you know, kind of the actual team and players itself, it's continued to be stated to me that you're not going to necessarily see. I wouldn't get too attached to practically anybody at United. And I'm not talking about, like, you know, Kabi Mainu. These are not players who they're going to sell right now. Okay, so Kabi Mainu, Garnacho, Højlund, you know, those are players that makes no sense to move on or anything like that. But similar in this concept is, you know, there's financial considerations and all of that, and there's a lot going on where in summer, if big offers come in for players that they're looking at and saying, is this somebody who's going to be at the top level for the next 5 years, or would we be better selling and replacing? And there's a lot of players in that position. And obviously you can't sell everybody. But the point being, there are very few players who are guaranteed a spot in the future United under all of this. There's very, very few. You know, Bruno Fernandes, if a big offer comes in, could he be sold? Yeah, absolutely. He could be. If a big offer comes in, he's a player where it would be good for FFP. He's a player where, you know, he's probably on his last big contract. He has an enormous number of minutes under his belt as a player, and it's probably going to decline. Is he somebody that 4 or 5 years from now is going to be leading this team? Probably not. And so, sure, it's, if you're going to get paid for him and sell at the right time, it's probably now. I'm not saying you even want that, but I'm just saying that that is part of the thinking. And, you know, you just have to think with that there is an intention that, it's not just, oh, clear out the dead wood, but, really the words that keep being given to me about the way that they're approaching this is a fresh start. And they want to be able to do whatever they can to bring in people, and to build the team in the image of these directors and people that they're hiring exactly what they want. And that may not include a lot of players. It's we don't know yet at this point in time. But certainly, the mismanagement of the players, the costs associated with these huge contracts for a lot of players that are going to have no resale value in the future is the type of mismanagement that they want to avoid moving forward, because it's going to make it practically impossible. And then in terms of transfers, I think that you will see a serious focus on, as I mentioned earlier, on players with Premier League experience, which is fine. I'm not saying it's the only ones, but certainly I think you will see that a good focus on players of Premier League experience as a key. Michael Olise, as I've said, is a serious target. I think Fabrizio confirmed that recently as well yesterday, saying he's somebody's already approved. Obviously, again, names are going to change when the structure comes in place, and hopefully we'll know. But the reason they're doing this all now is they need to start making those calls. In March, they need to start really lining the deals up for summer. And the way you're seeing them approach these deals for people, for directors, for all of that, I think is the same way you're going to see it be for players. Lined up ahead, and then bam, we're going for it. We're getting them. We're moving ahead. Jared Braithwaite continues to be one that is indicated to me as of serious interest as well. Not new news, but Braithwaite and Olise are two players I think they're really, really interested in. Again, there will be new directors and changes, but there's a lot of talk of those players being two kind of key individuals that they think would be vital. And the targeting overall in terms of what is being looked for continues to be around 2 center backs, 2 midfielders, and at least 1 forward. Some of that in the forward line will depend on sales and things, but Højlund, Garnacho, Rashford, another major signing, having 4 really strong players there. And then, potentially we'll see, how it works out in the striker area. But that tends to be, that continues to be kind of the major focus at this point in time of what is being scouted, what is being analyzed, and what is being drawn up. So, we will see. But, one of the other views, of course, is that United have an extremely strong crop of youth players. It's been looked at how City have, moved players in and sold well too. Sold really well. Chelsea in the same way, profitability-wise. Liverpool continued to do it. Not that United don't get youth players in the team. Obviously, we do. We've got Rashford, Garnacho, and Manu, who are currently, full fixtures in the team that are successful. But it could be better. And they could do a lot more with the youth players too. And some of the appointments are definitely with that in mind. But yeah, so big changes continue to be had. Next week, I think, is when they expect to have the complete and full ratification. And then I think you'll see these hires getting done, like Ashworth, Wilcox, etc. fast. I think we'll see at least another one. I don't know how significant the other ones will be, but there will be more. And then I think that we're getting closer now to where I'll start be able to really getting an idea of more specifics on the names for summer. But the changes keep moving ahead, and yeah, I think the view to take with how INEOS are operating on this is not, nobody is there by default. You're either the best person for the job or you get replaced. And that's the way that United have to run things. Okay. Once again, today's video is sponsored by SofaScore. You can scan the QR code in the corner there, click the link in the description below. Again, a great app, wonderful app for, looking at stats, tracking scores, things like that. Actually something I use all the time. And yeah, I'm excited to have them as a sponsor. Thank you for watching today's video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications on, and I will see you in the next one.